We at Speaking of Horses would like to thank the people who have made Speaking of Horses TV possible. To Equessentials, all your horse grooming, coat and care products specifically designed for your horse. A thank you to King Barns, custom-built barns, any style, any project you'd like. Get a hold of King Barns. To Overland Carts, if you want that versatile utility cart for your stable that can do anything, check out Overland Carts. Stall Butler, a unique design on how you can muck your stalls and save 90% of your shavings for reuse. Check out Stall Butler. And Eagle Erie Equine, modular systems for saddle racks, tack bars, and the like. Totally organize your tack room with Eagle Erie Equine. Thanks to all of these fine people who make Speaking of Horses possible. Well, welcome to our August 2013 World of Equine News Report on Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and we're glad to have you join us. We're going to start out with the story about international show jumping. Danielle Goldstein, international show jumper at Starwin Farms, she set her sights on Olympic success. With the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics on the horizon, U.S.-born and raised Goldstein applied for Israeli citizenship in 2011 and is now spearheading efforts to form Israel's first Nations Cup team. In preparation for the 2016 Olympic Games, the Israeli riders must first form a Nations Cup team, achieve success internationally previous to the Olympic Games. Now, Goldstein has seized the opportunity and has begun her European show tour, the most recent with the Israeli National Championship on May 17 and 18, and that will continue to Arnhem CSI 3 in the Netherlands. Now, Goldstein comments on her decision to compete abroad. Quote, "If I were not in Europe, there would be no chance of an Israeli Nations Cup team. So it's vital to the success of that goal that I am here." She continues that she's thrilled to be competing in Europe and looking forward to a successful tour. During her recent visit to Israel, Goldstein interviewed with some of the most prominent English-speaking broadcasters in the nation to promote her goals and to attain valuable support. She was interviewed with J-Post TV, a division of the Jerusalem Post, David Zvi of Israel Broadcast Association, and Ari Luis of IsraelSportsRadio.com. Israel's only English-language sport talk broadcasting show was the last interview. In the interviews, Goldstein not only described her visions of an unprecedented Olympic success for Israel, but also focused on the development of the sport of Israeli young people. You know, there's a lot of events going on in the summertime. There's a barbecue. It's at the Sugar Baker Ranch. It is Saturday, August 10th. Starts at 5 o'clock and goes to. Now, this is in southern Wisconsin. So join us for an evening of games and music and food and friends, horsetails and a bonfire. The event is open to all members, so feel free to bring a guest or two, and check online at the Southern Kettle Moraine Horse Trails Association. That's skmhta.com. Now, the SKMHTA, Southern Kettle Moraine Horse Trails, they host many different rides and gatherings each year to assist in funds for numerous projects in the Southern Kettle Moraine area, that is in the southeastern part of Wisconsin, to take care of the horse trails and the horse camps. This group has done some great things for the Southern Kettle Moraine Horse Camp area and trails. So check them out. They really would like your support. Well, we'll be right back with a moving story by an unknown author or authors about a horse. Stay with us. We at Speaking of Horses would like to thank the people who have made Speaking of Horses TV possible. To Equessentials, all your horse grooming, coat and care products specifically designed for your horse. A thank you to King Barns, custom-built barns, any style, any project you'd like. Get a hold of King Barns. to Overland Carts. If you want that versatile utility cart for your stable that can do anything, check out Overland Carts. Stall Butler, a unique design on how you can muck your stalls and save 90% of your shavings for reuse. Check out Stall Butler. And Eagle Erie Equine, modular systems for saddle racks, tack bars, and the like. Totally organize your tack room with Eagle Erie Equine. Thanks to all of these fine people who make Speaking of Horses possible. Well, welcome back. You know, all horse owners and lovers know the value of horses, their deep connection mentally with humans, and the untold stories of how they daily help people quietly and spiritually with their daily problems. Only if you let them. Now let's watch this moving video. It really tells the story. Well, now we focus on driving. Chester Weber, the 9-time USEF four-in-hand national champion, drove his way to stand on the coveted international podium in Aachen by taking a third place overall in the individual CAIO 4 competition. Proving himself worthy of this well-earned nickname, Mr. Dressage, Weber started things off by winning the Prix de France, the dressage competition for four-in-hand drivers of the CHIO. Now, during the first phase of this competition, Weber drove his team to a personal international record, a score of 31.2, and dominated the world-class field by beating out reigning FEI world champion Boyd XL for the entire win. Now, Weber followed things up the next day with a win in the team dressage and a fifth-place finish in the cones phase. Then he and his team successfully navigated to the Wohnwelt Pollen Marathon course to take 14th place on the final phase, which earned him a third place overall. Standing on the podium in this prestigious worldwide competition was certainly a proud moment for Weber and his amazing team of horses. Quote, "We will compete at Beekbergen and Cannes to hone our skills," said Weber. "Then we'll return to the U.S. in September to prepare for the national championships to be held in Kentucky." Now, Weber also added that all of the horses are training well and that the 2013 Summer Tour is an important stepping stone for them on the way to the end goal of the 2014 World Equestrian Games that will be held in Normandy, France, just about 1 year from right now. Well, speaking of horses, TV will be at the Festival of the Drum and Horse in St. Charles, Illinois, August 17 and 18, 2013. We'll be doing live streaming reports daily, delayed video reports, and filming for a TV show to broadcast later. This is going to be a great event. So here's a little promo. Watch about this wonderful upcoming festival in Northern Illinois. Now, also, just prior to the Festival of the Drum and Horse will be a film festival in St. Charles, and many films and videos, all surrounding horses and the Western mystique, are entered. We at Speaking of Horses TV, we have 2 shows in the festival as well. We'll be showing you one show about the Sioux Indian Reservation, the Pine Ridge Reservation, and one show will be about the California Cowgirls drill team at the World Equestrian Games. Now, while we're there, we'll also have some live streaming TV internet coverage of some of the ceremonies at the film festival. Right now, here's a promo that shows you all of the films that are entered and many of the things happening. So let's watch this video about this film festival.
Dirt, every inch of me hurts. Guessing wasn't such a perfect landing. Yeah, I'm still alive, not sure how I survived. It was a hell of a ride till it ended. I guess that's what you get when you leave. You don't always end up on your feet. Oh, there's easier ways I could go. Oh, but deep down inside me I know I really have something to show when I get back on the road. Oh yeah. Every now and again I get myself in the spin, face the true consequence of a fast turn. Every up, every down, every single go round, every fall I have found makes me stronger. So I'll knock all the dust off and then I'll get back in the saddle again. Oh, there's easier ways I could go. Oh, but deep down inside me I know I really have something to show when I get back on the road. I guess that's what you get when you leave. You don't always end up on your feet. Oh yeah, there's easier ways I could go. Oh, but deep down inside me I know I really have something to show when I get back on the road. Yeah. Oh, but deep down inside me I know I really have something to show when I get back on the road. When I get back on the road, yeah.
We'll be right back with a meeting with Dan James of Australia. Dan James coming up right after this. Well, we'd like to take a moment and thank people who make Speaking of Horses TV possible. We want to thank One Source Nutrition, the perfect blend of nutrients to help your horse. It's One Source Nutrition. And Revitavet, equine light therapy, for either toning up muscles before competitions or to promote rapid healing. You want Revitavet. Equine Savings. This program can save you up to 25% on tractors, stable equipment, yes, and even on barn paint. Be sure and go to Equine Savings and check it out. To Hoosier Horse Trailers. Quality horse trailers, living quarters, you and your horse can ride in comfort. And Saratoga Stalls. Classic equine stalls built specifically for you. Thank you to Saratoga Stalls. And thanks to everyone who makes Speaking of Horses TV possible. Well, welcome back. You know, Speaking of Horses TV was recently in Lexington, Kentucky at the Kentucky Horse Park for Briarfest 2013. Now, if you're familiar with the Briar model horses, this is their main gathering each year for all of the collectors and lovers of horses and Briar horses. You know, they gather also many of the real horses that they make the models of to perform at Briarfest. Now, we caught up with Dan James of Double Dan Horsemanship out of Australia. Dan was performing at Briarfest. Now, here's our interview with Dan, and we've also got some added action footage of Dan at work while at Briarfest. Watch and enjoy. Speaking of Horses TV, we're glad to have you join us. And I'm standing here next to Mr. Dan James, part of the Double Dan Horsemanship. But we only have one Dan with us. If you guys remember, a few years ago at the World Equestrian Games, we had both Dans on the evening show, and it was pretty hilarious. But Dan hails from Australia, and you're performing here at Briarfest. So just give us some of your take on Briarfest this year.
Well, Wayne, it's great to be here at Briarfest. I mean, and this is the first time that I've come along to this event. It's a different demographic and group of people, but you know, they're rightfully very excited about being here. I've never seen a group that lines up for the hours upon hours that they do to get into a show, and we've had the opportunity here to come in and sort of show and demonstrate some of our Liberty horses, from our Roman riding right through to, you know, advanced sort of reining horses without a person being on them.
Well, I can also tell you that from 3 years ago at the World Equestrian Games, working with you, to what I've seen you do here, you're really stepping up your program.
Mate, you know, thank you. I mean, it's always sort of a big challenge to try to stay in front of the game here, particularly over here with so many talented horsemen and horsewomen like that are, you know, even performing here this weekend, to try to, you know, make sure that we keep them hopping to, you know, stay out there, try to stay out there in front.
Well, I particularly like your fire act, all right, and hopefully we're going to have a little video of that, but because some of what I shot the day before, shooting against this one door down here, you can't see it on camera, but there's a light comes through that really messes up camera angle. But your fire act, tell us how you decided to do this with the bullwhips on fire.
You know, I feel that it's one of the things that is kind of unique to Double Dan. There'd been a couple of guys back home in Australia that had gone through and, you know, just from the ground been able to use one of those whips that we have made up out of Kevlar and to have it on fire. But then to take it from being on the ground to on the back of the horse and you know, introducing that to the horse, like that's another whole, you know, training piece, you know, just in itself. So yeah, look, it was, you know, definitely you know, I guess a transition going from where we started out just with the whip, and then we developed the lines of fire, and now we have Donald Hancock that works with us as doing an internship. I mean, he breathes fire, so you know, the more that you can add to it, and obviously, you know, when we have a full dark house, the visual effect of it, you know, becomes a little greater.
Right, in this arena where it's kind of light and there are some light areas where you can't close the doors, they just come in. So it takes away a little of that effect, but yeah, in an arena where it's dark and you can really like kill lights and have the fire be the whole thing, that would be great. Yeah,
it is. It's a pretty popular act. We've had the opportunity to perform it at a couple different spots around this country and obviously back home quite a lot. But when that whip explodes, with that explosion, when we crack it, particularly because of the build-up of the kerosene in it in the early couple of stages of it in a dark house, and it's pretty impressive.
Well, and you're doing a lot more Liberty work. You're working, you know, 3 other horses with you now. That just seems like it's expanding more and more. And of course, the Roman riding. If you haven't seen Dan Roman ride, no halters, no bridles, no nothing, no horses hooked together. They're totally bears, shall we say, and you're just up on their back and they're working together.
Yeah, mate, that never. You know, that part never sort of ceases to sort of, you know, like feel like a great achievement, that every time I get out there and those horses sort of just, I mean, they make that decision to stick together and they allow me up there, and I mean, it's just, it's an unreal feeling to be able to, you know, have them come out and just time after time after time, you know, sort of canter around that arena or trot around that arena with, you know, just using that one sort of stick as a cue to change direction or to speed it up or to slow it down. So it's a lot of fun. And the thing, I guess, is, you know, from 2010 till now, I mean, we feel like we've definitely improved. But we also, this is the first opportunity, I guess, over here in this country that we've also been able to have some of our horses, and it's been, you know, a gradual transition from flying 2 of my horses over from Australia here to the US, and then starting to build a team here in the US again.
Right. Well, it's neat. And you know, one of the things that as an announcer I try to tell people, the crowd that are horse people realize how difficult it is to do what you're doing on the Roman riding. The crowd that are not really horse people do not realize, you know, how difficult that really is.
Right. I mean, it's always you know, I guess an education for an audience to try to sort of understand. It is difficult to have an appreciation for some of that stuff if you've never gone out and sort of ridden a horse and understood what it was like just to communicate while you're sitting on him.
Well, Dan, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us this morning.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate it. It's good to be back and to see you again.
It's good to see you, and we'd like to do more along the way with you on Speaking of Horses. So thanks for joining us here at Briarfest. And if you get a chance, check out Dan James. The website?
DoubleDanHorsemanship.com.
It's that simple, DoubleDanHorsemanship.com. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, mate. Good on you. Cheers.
All right, we got more coming. Speaking of Horses. You know, the Kickapoo Valley Reserve will host their 10th annual Fall Trail Ride September 27 to the 29th, 2013. That's in Lafarge, Wisconsin, in the beautiful Ontario area. Ride, it's hosted by the Kickapoo Valley Reserve Horse Power Group and friends of the group for the promotion of maintenance and care of the horse trails in the reserve. You can soak up the spectacular fall beauty of the Kickapoo Valley fall colors on miles of equestrian trails. You know, they've got guided rides on Saturday, evening campfires, raffle prizes, and even a great Sunday breakfast around the campfire. Sign up early. Make your reservation. Make sure you get a spot to camp and ride in the Kickapoo Valley. 608-625-2960 is that number for more information. 608-625-2960. You know, speaking of horses, we were really pleased. We just finished filming a wonderful story that'll be a show very soon to view. Now, we're processing and editing the show as we speak, and we were at the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota for the Oglala Sioux. This is the Wounded Knee area, and we did also visit the Wounded Knee site. While we were there, we gathered information to tell the story of the Horse Spirit Society, founded by area Sioux to help bring horses and young people of the Sioux Nation together, further the education for the young. Now, the horses also are the activity that keep many of the young people involved with something other than just going out and getting in trouble. They're involved with the horses because they love it. It is their heritage of the Sioux Indian. Over 500 years of horses and the Sioux. You know, many veterinarians from the Midwest travel out every July to perform medical checks and treatment on over 400 horses, and all of this at no charge. Now, this story we filmed and we want you to watch will be on Speaking of Horses TV soon. We were pleased. One of the interviews was with Mr. Percy Whiteplume. He is one of the founders of the Horse Spirit Society to help these kids. And as it turns out, we discovered he was one of the Native American actors in the movie Dances with Wolves 20 years ago. So keep following Speaking of Horses TV for the release of this moving new show from the... We at Speaking of Horses would like to thank some of the people who helped to make Speaking of Horses TV possible. A big thank you to Equine Clot. Equine Clot is a wonderful product. Carry it in your saddlebag, put it in your first aid kit, wrap it on an equine wound. It immediately promotes clotting and is a great first aid tool. Thank you to Equine Clot. And to EquestraSafe, a complete line of equestrian riding products for trail, for arena, for wherever. From reflective vests, reflective headgear, tapes, signage, everything you need to ride safely and to be safe with your horse is available at EquestraSafe.com. Check them out. Thanks to all of the fine people that make Speaking of Horses TV possible. Well, that's our report for August 2013, the World of Equine News. I'm your host, Wayne Williams. Glad to have you join us. We'll see you in September for the September report, and we'll see you down the trail.